when they were in the midst of it, building the company, struggling, not knowing if they were going to make payroll, all that stuff. They knew who they were.
The perception that there is a destination, I think, is what messes you up, right? In a future moment in time, everything will be different.
Well, the nice thing about a 1099 is because you are getting paid commission, you have some flexibility. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Pick Now podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Munn. Today, we have on as a guest serial entrepreneur, investor, advisor, self-described half entrepreneur, half monk, Bryan Lord. Bryan, welcome to the Pick Now podcast.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So I always like to ask this question. When did you realize you were an entrepreneur?
I don't remember the date. I don't know that there is a date.
You didn't wake up one morning and suddenly it's like, aha.
I checked my mail. I got a letter in the mail that told me I am. I think it was instead of telling you what it is, let me tell you what it isn't. Right?
Yeah.
So I went to Purdue, changed my major 6 times, was there for 6 years. I don't have a master's or a PhD. It wasn't an academic problem. It was more of a problem of think of it like tribes, right? Like, you know, as an engineering student, I was like, these are not my people. Not that they're not nice, but it's like, I just couldn't relate, you know. I wanted to go out, have fun, do other things, you know. Again, not that the topics weren't interesting, just more so like, this is just not my tribe. Then I went to like, I think sales and selling management, and that was like my perception of like the beginning of the suits and ties and Excel spreadsheets. And I was like, man, these are not my people, right? So
not that either. Yeah.
Exactly. Just kind of kept doing it. So it was more like, instead of, I like the saying like, you know, if you can't tell me what it is, tell me what it isn't, right? And so like, I pretty much eliminated every regular occupation by telling you what it isn't.
So was it that none of those boxes were big enough? Like, because I noticed for me, like I had lots of different interests. I never, like, instead of going through 6 majors in college, which I could have, I ended up picking marketing because it had a little bit of everything in it. Like, was it that, or what do you think it exactly was? So it's like, I'm not this. I'm not wired this way.
I think it was I don't know. I don't want to romance history here, right? I mean, you're asking me what a 19-year-old Bryan Lord thought. I've tried to forget that.
I get that. Well, what do you think? I mean, you know, whatever you are now, what does that person think?
Well, I mean, I typically look at, I mean, whether it's good, bad, or right or wrong, I look at things from the broad picture, right? So it's like, why would I want to major in finance when that's just one small sliver of anything? Why would I want to major in marketing when it's like that's just one small sliver of a thing, right? Not to say that those things aren't individually important, but it's the, you know, and I live this, right? I mean, I still live it, right? You hire people and they're experts in their domains, and you try to cross domains, and it's just an epic breakdown. And I think for me, you know, I'll never be as deep in the domains, but I would say that's a feature, not a bug, right? It's for me, it's having the breadth across the domains.
The generalist, right? Yeah.
Yeah. The master generalist instead of the
generalist, the translator, I'm going to help the salesperson understand what the finance person is talking about, and vice versa. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to butcher it, but my first, my first company, when I raised capital, the guy that I raised capital for, I'm a mentor, you know, he kind of laughed and would tell me, like, you know, the finance people, their job's to keep score. Like, they don't run the business. But that's not exactly the way most people understand finance. Most people think finance runs the business. And to be clear,
including the finance people.
Oh, exactly. That's exactly right. But, you know, it's the classic, like, you know, if you ask a lawyer, like, how do I not have exposure? Don't be in business. How do you pay no taxes? Don't have profits, right? How do you know what I mean? Like, you know, ask finance how to make more money. Well, just double what you charge your client, right? Yeah. It's like in a vacuum, it's easy, right? But it's like when you start to spread that out across all the different, you know, substrates, it's quite challenging, right? It's like, I got a great
Yeah.
idea. I could double your revenue. Let's just double the ticket price or whatever it is, right? And then
Hmm.
marketing's like, there's an actual market out there. And you're like, yeah, I know, right? But it's like, I don't understand how sometimes those individual silos are just like, I don't
Right.
know, you just rate, we need to make more money, just raise your prices. And you're like,
Right.
how do you not know this?
Right.
So it's like these
Right.
really, really smart people that are just so kind of narrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think for me,
Okay.
like sitting in those classes, I was like, man, this is not, I just can't get my head wrapped around it.
I think there's like for me, I started out as a law firm lawyer, and one of the challenges that I had with being a lawyer was that, and you alluded to it, it was like my job was to say no. My job was to find all the problems, and I wanted to find all the solutions. I wanted to find
Mm.
like here's a challenge that no one is addressing. How do we do that? So it was a little bit of a, I had always had a little more of an entrepreneurial bent than an entrepreneurial just felt way too risky for me at that stage in my life. But I suspect you had this inkling at some point. It's like, oh, there's an opportunity here. What would happen if I pursued that? What was that opportunity for you? And what, how'd you go about like solving that problem?
Well, let me think about this. So I saw a YouTube clip of young bearded Steve Jobs, and I
Uh-huh.
don't know why, but it's one of those 2 minute clips, minute and a half clip, and I don't know what it was. The time of my life, uh, I think I was probably 18 or 19, and maybe
Yeah.
20, something like that.
Yeah.
And I watched the clip, and I just was like, "That's it, like game over, like that." You talk about the
Wow.
moment, right? It was
Yeah.
probably like that one clip. In the clip, I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna I'm gonna embellish it, I'm gonna butcher it a bit, but it's basically like the day you wake up and realize that the world was built by people that are no smarter than you, and that you can effectively make a difference in the world, like you'll be changed forever. And I just the way he describes it in this clip, again, you can find it on YouTube. I just was like,
Yeah.
that's it. And then I kind of
Yeah.
had this like realization of like, yeah, like if the whole world had to be built by brilliant people, we are doomed. Right? We're doomed, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you look around, you're like all these skyscrapers and roads and cars and stuff, and then you're like, wait a minute, like actually this is all built by effectively mediocrity. And that's not an insult,
Mm.
that's an
Right.
appreciation of like anybody can do it,
Right.
right? And that you can actually go and kind of make your dent in the world. And so
Yeah.
it wasn't like in that moment I'm like, I have an idea, but that was more that I was like, okay,
That
like that
planted the
really,
seed.
for some reason,
Yeah.
that really resonated with me. And then from
Uh-huh.
there, as a college student, golfing here and there, and I grew up working outside at golf courses. I didn't work in the pro shop or anything, grounds maintenance, mowing fairways and stuff. Um, just as kind of the internet was this thing called the internet was slowly taking off, right? It was
Yeah.
probably going to work.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Big reservation systems were coming online, hotels
Hmm.
and rental cars and airlines, right? They were not always online as we know.
Yeah, sure.
And I just said, well, why isn't basically golf online effectively?
Mm.
And so
Hmm.
that was kind of the initial like problem statement, which, it bobbed and weaved and pivoted a million times as all businesses do, and ended up becoming enterprise resource planning that I raised capital for, and the rest is history.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh. Well, so how did like walk us through that because you're like mowing fairways and thinking about this issue like where at some point it goes from thinking about it to hey, I'm going to do something about this. Like walk us through the first actions, because a lot of people have great ideas that they never do anything about, right? And there's something
most
about the
people.
entrepreneur. Yeah, there's something about the entrepreneur that says, okay, I'm going to put this thing out in the world. I'm going to risk getting laughed at. I'm going to risk it failing. I'm going to risk whatever, and I'm going to do it. Like walk us through the steps of like Bryan Lord saying, hey, I think I got a thing here. Let's begin to experiment and see what happens.
Um, so I mean, I was in college, right? And
Yeah.
I thought about the idea a little bit, but I didn't like get a notebook out and start writing it out.
Uh-huh.
And then time passes, and I'm like, this is still a problem. Time
Uh-huh.
passes. This is still a problem. I graduate. It's like, okay, kind of have to do something.
Uh-huh.
So I stumbled around in like insurance and finance a little bit, and I was like, this confirmed that this I was 1099, which does matter as far as my
Uh-huh.
record for not really truly having a W-2, unless it's for my own company.
Right.
So it was 1099, 100% commission sales. And then, it was just kind of like, wait a minute, I'm either selling somebody else's dream or I could sell my own. So that
Mm.
was like another one, like another quote I had read somewhere, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just selling somebody else's dream. I wake up every day and I just sell somebody else's dream. Like, why don't I just sell my own? Like, I
Uh-huh.
don't know, again, under the premise that most of the world is built from mediocrity,
Yeah.
give it a shot. So then, it's not pretty. I mean, I made 1,000 terrible pitch decks, and I
Uh-huh.
stumbled into a great designer, 110.com, Lane Lev, who's now one of my best friends. My wife and I paid him to help come up with a brand and a pitch deck because this is
Uh-huh.
back when you couldn't AI code anything, right? Like it
Claude
was,
couldn't write something for you
yeah,
in 30
exactly.
seconds.
So, yeah, so
Yeah.
it was really, really, really challenging to build things, right? The coordination and stuff like it was really, just the classic waterfall, agile, development, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
SDLC, was really challenging for a long time, right? That's
Hmm.
all changed in the last like 2 years, but yeah, and I just like anything, just knocked on doors, started talking to golf courses, tried to get connected to investors, and started pitching and opening up bar tabs and having to pay them and not get investment, and
Wow. Yeah.
it took like two. It took like 2 years. I think like 2 years. 2 years. Now, to be clear, it wasn't like I wasn't doing it 40 hours a week, right? Because I was
Right.
still
You were still doing
still
a
kind of selling some
1099
insurance and
job.
stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the nice thing
People
about a
like
1099 is it's not like because you are getting paid, commission, you have some flexibility. You don't
you
have
can't
to like
direct.
you're not locked into a chair at a desk for
Right.
40 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't direct the work, right? Right.
Right. Right.
So there you go, right? But again, I don't want to act like that was architected either, right? It was like, well, I got to do something, and through connections, and I kind of ended up selling some insurance, and it was fine. And then I ended up talking to the right guy at the right time, and ended up raising a bunch of capital from I think it was a 14-page PDF, and the rest is history. I also like it was tough. Like I don't want to romance history. Like it was frustrating, when you're young, closing like $1,000 bar tabs in downtown Bellevue, Washington. Like that was big money,
Where did you get the
like
funds for this?
to like close a bar tab.
Well, to just like close multiple bar tabs, just to like to keep
Well, I mean, I
going,
was
right?
selling insurance, and
You were making
um,
enough from that to like
yeah,
keep this other thing going.
yeah, and I was
Yeah.
engaged, maybe married at the time. My wife worked for Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, so she had a good.
Uh-huh.
That was back in the day when that was like a very
Yeah.
desirable job.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
just
that was
noting
one
the
of the
fact that
main.
today it's a lot different, but this is back in the heyday when it's like, man, if you could be a pharmaceutical sales rep for like a big pharma company, like that is a sweet gig.
Yeah, that
Great,
was one of
great
the best
pay,
jobs
super
that a
flexible.
that a
Yeah,
that a new college grad could get.
yeah,
If
and she
you
had it.
weren't
Yeah,
like in accounting or finance or whatever, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah, so I mean, and I don't want to act like it was like hundreds of thousands. It wasn't that, but I'm just saying, like,
Right.
it just was. It's like it always made sense to close the bar tab if you were going to get investment, right? But
Right. Well, I think the thing that you're glossing over in all this, and the thing that I think makes the biggest difference, is just the willingness to hear no over and over and over again and keep going. And so, what were you learning in hearing those no's that made you want to keep going?
um,
Was it just your
there's
own irrational belief that someone's going to get this at some point? Is it?
that's very well said. uh, I think it's two things, right? I think like I think that I wanted to fail or succeed on my own accord
Uh-huh.
not at the behest of my boss and the
Uh-huh.
politics and my ability to move up in a company as a Teflon leader, right?
Right. Right.
Or whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
I didn't really live that at the time. I later did live through that, but I'm saying that like first person, like, you know, like lived in that environment. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying that uh I also just kind of believed, I'm like, hey, like you know, like I've met a lot of wealthy people that I walk away and I'm like, they're pretty average, you know, they're pretty normal. I've also met really wealthy people that are very smart too. But I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
if very smart had to be the characteristic, like we're all doomed, and it's just
Yeah.
not. It's
Yeah.
just not at all. And so that combined with the saying that like you're literally just one yes away from changing your life forever.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And so the question is like, what's the ask, right? So people typically dial back the ask so far, not just in entrepreneurship and all of life, that when they get the yes, like it's not a demonstrable change, right? And so for me, the
Interesting.
ask was like, you know, I want to be an entrepreneur and I need capital and I'm going to go do this.
Uh-huh.
And which is a hard pitch when you're young and you have zero experience and you're like, you don't understand who I am. I can just do this. And, you know, a savvy investor's like, I've heard this. I've lost hundreds of millions of dollars doing this with people just like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
So what do you think? So you do a lot of these pitches, you develop the deck, you go through this process, you get doors slammed in your face, all that. Like, did you know you were close when you were getting to that point, or did it just kind of like, oh, someone said yes, and it kind of seemed like a random thing?
I mean,
Did you
typically
did you feel like you
it's,
were getting better at the pitch? Yeah.
I don't know. I think there are times when you feel like you got better when I got better at the pitch, but it also feels like who moved my cheese, right? Because it's like the objections you get from people are just as rational and irrational as anything else, right? And
Uh-huh.
so, you know, there were the objections that were consistent you could learn around, but the ones that were inconsistent, it's hard to learn from, right? It's very
Right.
challenging, right? And you have
Right.
just have no idea. I'd also say like there's kind of the saying that like, you know, the person that invests in your company is the last person you talk to,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so, and then typically, you know, typically that process pulls you through it, not you pushing. So everything leading up to that conversation, you're pushing a cube up a mountain, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
then suddenly you're like rolling down the other side of the mountain, like you're getting pulled into it, right? It almost becomes a bit more out of your control.
Interesting. And so when did that start to happen for you, and what did it look like? Like what happened in that meeting? Like, you know, as much detail as you can share, like how much did you ask for? What was the, yeah, we'll do it for this, or yeah, I mean, I get in my mind it's, some less glamorous version of Shark Tank, right? Like walk us through that.
So um I didn't have a specific ask, funny
Uh-huh.
enough.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
I recognize that that's pretty non-standard. And I don't want to say that like that was by design. I think it was just like I didn't really know.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't want to look like a fool. I'd say
Uh-huh.
the bigger pitch that I ended up landing in that was starting to resonate was that the golf industry was very underinvested in. And so
Hmm.
if you looked at like the top 10 players in the space, which at that time, I mean 10 players represented probably 99% of the entire global market, like tiny, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Right? And when you
Mm-hmm.
looked at it, like the number 3 player, maybe number 4 player in the space globally did like $3 million in revenue,
Wow.
right? Right? And you're talking legacy product, you know, .net, .local, right? Like not cloud
Uh-huh.
based, you know, all the stuff
Uh-huh.
today, which is like, you know, table stakes. But again, you got to run the clock. So
Yeah.
like part of the pitch was like, hey, like no one's looking at this, and I think I
Uh-huh.
accidentally found something that no one's looking at. And so if you came in well capitalized, you could acquire your way to, like, you could get to the top kind of by hook or by crook, right? Like
So,
you could
so
probably
here's a
buy, you
market
could,
that here's a market we could take over without, relative to other markets, without a lot of
right.
capital. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like if you're going to go compete, yeah, in other verticals, like, $1 billion might not make a dent.
Right.
But
Right.
and I don't I've never done the research, but I kind of laugh that, like, I bet bowling alley software is the same way. Like, I bet there's
Yeah.
like four players that represent 99% of the global market of bowling alleys, and I bet that stuff hasn't been touched in like 40 years,
I
right?
can tell you from personal experience going bowling with my son recently, the bowling alley software is not not very high end.
But you see what I'm saying, though, right? So, like,
Exactly. Yeah.
you could make two arguments. One, well, it's not gotten investment because it doesn't deserve to get investment. Or two, you could
Right.
look at it as, I could be the guy that could come in and just quickly displace and or acquire my way to the whole market. Like, there's two
Right.
ways to look at that. And
Yeah.
so I think, like, the pitch, the young buck Bryan pitching in his 20s was like,
Uh-huh.
it's a very fragmented space, extremely under resourced,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, and my audience agreed, and the rest is history.
Do do you think you had a perspective, having spent a lot of time in and around golf courses, that others might not have? Or was that just kind of where you happened to have the idea?
I don't, I don't, I mean, I am a golfer, but, like, and the golf industry will tell you this, by the way, like, I don't wear the blue blazers and the khakis and the, like,
Yeah.
I didn't go to Q school, you know what I mean? Like, I played on the golf team when I
Right.
was young, but I was terrible. You know what I mean? Like, I just, like,
Yeah.
golf was like just a fun, like, activity. I wasn't die hard about it. You know what I mean? I would
Uh-huh.
say, like, as an adult, I end up caring more about it and playing a little bit more, but I think it was just more of a kind of, I saw a problem, and
Uh-huh.
I would say, selfishly and more importantly, it actually impacted me personally. Like, I had a
Yeah.
Windows smartphone, and it was like, how come I can't just do the thing that I want to do right here? If I can do it for, like, Hertz rental car, why can't I do it for, my golf course down the street?
Right.
I mean, to
Right.
me, it was just like a simple, like, I don't understand. Like, why is nobody
Uh-huh.
doing this? Right.
So what was the first help that you got offered, given that you didn't really have a specified ask? So someone says yes. What do they say yes to?
They say yes to basically investing in the company, and
Uh-huh.
then uh, the terms of that were not well fleshed out, to be honest with you, which is okay,
Uh-huh.
a lesson learned there, but nonetheless, and they wanted basically close to 100% equity in the company, which was tough. I remember
Yeah.
the walking down Las Vegas Boulevard with my wife, like, literally saying to myself, like, this is such a crazy ask, but also such a crazy opportunity, that I kind of
Mm.
did the whole, like, what would everybody else do? Like, everybody else would let their ego get in the way, and so therefore I won't. And so I said yes to the
Uh-huh.
deal,
Uh-huh.
which I don't regret at all. I mean, it was an amazing. I mean, talk about your first business. Like, it was pretty incredible.
Yeah. Well, and you're how old? I mean, it's not like um, they're not signing on because of your demonstrated leadership ability, right?
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. um, yeah, I mean, it was great. It was, I mean, obviously learned a lot, a lot of heartache, a lot of fun. I mean,
And so
obviously that
what's
changed.
the
It
path
changed.
like over how many years, and what did it turn into, and walk us
I
through
think it
that.
was like 7.5 years with venture capital,
Uh-huh.
and then figure kind of the 2 years before that, so maybe like 9.5 years ish.
Uh-huh.
You
Uh-huh.
know, if you were to equate it to full time, it was probably 8.5.
Uh-huh.
But the first 2 years it was not full time. I was trying to raise capital, make the deck, learn the pitch, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then kind of went through like an interesting transaction with my uh, venture capital, which was fine. Like, it was
Uh-huh.
good. And then, yeah, and then I ended up getting fired, which at the time, I kind of thought before that, I don't want to say like I never thought I would get fired, but I think I kind of knew it was a possibility. Just
Mm-hmm.
in general, right? Like you're now you're
Right.
working for somebody, right? So like you can get fired. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So fired from the CEO role, Brian, or fired from the company altogether, or both?
both. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So you
yeah.
were
It was
CEO up to, when is this? 2020-ish, if I'm remembering right?
2020. Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then subsequently, right? Like I think you can appreciate like not the easiest thing to go through, of course.
Yeah.
And not that it matters, definitely blindsided, right? It wasn't like early
Mm-hmm.
distant warning. It was just like here's a freight train. Um, but I would say like more interestingly is like, and maybe I find some solace in this, but like it's actually super common. Like
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
actually super common. I mean, I felt like at the time, like, I mean, I can't believe this. And then it's like, you actually start to like learn about it and you're like, I actually survived like 7.5 years.
You
Like
last, yeah,
that's
you
actually,
lasted a long time, right?
yeah.
I mean,
And
they could have
to
fired you on day
everybody's,
one, right?
to
And said,
everybody's,
"Hey, thanks for the great idea,"
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. And to everybody's credit, like I probably should have quit or been fired probably 2 years earlier. So
Uh
I
huh.
do give them some credit for some probably extraordinary patience with me, I'm sure.
Yeah. What were you? So you started from kind of ground zero in 2020. How many employees do you like? Give us a sense, however you can, of how big an organization you're talking about at this point.
Um, so we were wrapped inside of what I would call probably small mid cap public company.
Okay. And when
And
did that happen?
that happened in 2017.
Okay. So you're bought by a
Um,
public company in
yeah,
2017. Okay.
yeah. And then yeah, so I'm trying to figure out. I'm
Let,
trying to figure
let me
out
just tell you, yeah, let me tell you where I'm going, and you can answer it however you like. You know, you're a 20 something year old starting from ground zero to
Mhm.
2017, you get bought by this bigger company, 2020, you get fired. You're a different leader at different points along the way. You have different responsibilities. You know, you have different measures of success. What are you learning about yourself in that process? And what are you learning that you are really good at and actually really struggle with as in that kind of role?
I am not a politician
Uh-huh.
at all.
Yeah.
Um,
So being
I can't,
within
I
a
can't,
large
I can't,
public
I can't,
company, probably not a
I
good
can't,
place for you.
I can't even pretend to play one on TV. Like
Uh-huh.
it's just, I'm just not a politician. Like I commend all the people that can do that. And I appreciate many years later that alone is a skill set.
Yeah.
Um, I want to say two things. One, it is a skill set and I recognize it's a skill set but it's a skill set that I don't really find that valuable. I appreciate that
Mm,
the skill set can make you become valuable individually, but I don't know
right.
that I don't, if you were to say, "Hey, go grab 15 new skill sets," I don't know that
That
politician
that wouldn't
is on
be,
my list.
yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like doing what's right, saying what you mean and meaning what you say and you know, I mean that's the best part about we see this every day. I mean, we've seen it. It's the history of politicians, right? I mean, what they say, what they mean,
Right.
and what they do are three unrelated tasks,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Well, and I think about, I mean, one of the things that I think in the corporate world, we'll set aside the political, the actual political world. I think those people who are good at politics are able to help build organizations to a size that probably they would implode long before if you didn't have people who are able to broker conversations and smooth ruffled feathers and do all that stuff, and all that noise that is inherent in a larger organization. And I've spent a lot of time in larger organizations. They are just some of the least efficient mechanisms for doing business that you've ever seen. So, is it a good thing that these politicians can build a large organization or not? I don't know.
Yeah, that's an ethereal question, right? I like the saying
Right. Right.
a camel is a horse built by committee,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I do think one of the things where I ran into trouble yesterday with this, like saying the truth in a way that can actually be heard by the other person is a skill set. Like sometimes just like the unfiltered, unadulterated truth is not something that the person in front of you is prepared to hear.
Yeah, and I would say that, yeah, a lot of lessons in that right there. I think I saw Simon Sinek. Uh, I think I saw him say something like, "Always tell the truth, but knowing when to do it is as much as a
Yeah.
skill as doing it." And I think that got me into kind of a lot of trouble.
Mm,
I mean, getting in
yeah.
trouble for telling the truth. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I mean,
Oh, but I get
effectively,
it.
like, yeah, there is a time, and then there's also not a time. And I think,
Uh-huh.
if anything, I probably always took the wrong time, right?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
like
Well,
a
I think
long
that's
time, I
one.
always took the wrong moments to tell the truth.
I'm still learning that one myself. And
Yeah.
especially when I was younger and there were things where it's like, well, this is obvious. Can't you see that? And it's just like, whoa, like, the person in front of you is like devastated by what you thought was obvious. And it can be a tricky one to navigate.
Yeah, and there's the perception problem, right? There's the perception
Right.
of the truth, and then there's, and which I appreciate. This is like a whole philosophical conversation, right? But there's also like, the math truth, which is like, right, like it's like $100 is $100, and so if you're the guy that's like,
Yeah.
that's $100 and that's the truth, and everyone's like, I can't believe that you just called out that it's $100. It's like, I don't understand. Like, we're not actually
Right.
disagreeing on the underlining substrate of what the thing is. Like, that is what it is. I'm just bringing it forward to the conversation, where the
Right.
interpretations can be messy, right? It's like, I saw a giraffe. It's like, no, I thought I saw a lion. That's a whole
Yeah.
different set of like perception of truth, right? You know,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
saw a
Yeah.
sphere versus I saw a circle, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So let's go back to 2020. And well, let me go back to, I want to set the context first. So 2017, you get bought, you have a small amount of equity. Like, is there a big payday for you in any of these transactions or any of these events? Like, what does that look
It,
like?
it, wa- it, wa- it was a unique transaction, and I can't get into details of it, but it was a unique
Yeah.
transaction in the fact that I was basically brought on board in a higher position at a public company,
Uh-huh.
effectively.
Uh-huh.
So there wasn't like the classic, um, here's a pot of gold
Like
at the end of the
the eight
rainbow.
figure, yeah, the 8 figure wire hit your account.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
again, like, I want to be very transparent. Like, I wasn't really given a choice, so I got something
Uh-huh.
I didn't ask for. I wasn't mad that I was given it.
Uh-huh.
I think that, I'm not sure internally everyone agreed with it, but that's another tough spot because it's like I didn't ask for it. Like, this wasn't
Right.
I'm an entrepreneur. Like, the idea that I would even come up with that idea as a solution to a problem is like not. It's just not how we're wired, right? Um,
Right.
so that became another, like, kind of, I think, over time, kind of a political mess, and I certainly didn't do it any justice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So lessons learned there. But yeah, like, I mean, I think from a functional standpoint, like, again, um, I think it's like very few things I think I don't that I can truly regret, right? Like, I don't. So
Hmm.
like, it was like the right. Like, it all sorted itself out. It's that.
Right. Like, given the
The,
circumstances, it was like the right thing to
yeah,
happen. Yeah.
and like, it's like the I'm gonna butcher this one, but do you know the story of like I think it's The Chinese Man and His Horse. You know what I'm talking
Uh,
about?
is this the one that the horse get like the horse and the sun and like
Yeah. Yeah.
every version of it is this good or bad like that
Yes.
that
Yeah. And then,
yeah okay
the father or the person there is always like, maybe, right?
yeah yeah
Right. So it's like, if you look at one thing in the moment in time, right? Like, you assign a
yeah
label on it, good or bad. But the end of the story is basically he gets bucked off the horse and breaks his leg. And then the next day, right, they come to like enlist
right
him in the army, but he
and he
can't go
can't
because he's got a
he
broken
can't
leg.
go yeah
And then the story
yeah
just ends right there.
yeah
There's nothing more to say. But as the story goes on, like, you're learning, like, wait a minute, like, that's a good event, that's a bad event. Oh, but then the next event happens, which makes the prior event actually what you thought was a bad event turns it into a good event, right? And
right
so I'm trying to say, like, I think that's, I find a little more credence in that for really my whole
one
life. But I would say like that story is definitely that, right? Like, I think everything just sorted its way out the way it needed to be sorted out.
so how did getting fired in 2020 turn out to be an amazing thing for you?
Um, I mean, now I had experience, right? So now, like, the
Hmm.
objection of like, hey, young kid, like, you have no idea what you're doing. It's like, well, hey, Mr. Investor, pull up a
Yeah,
chair. I
yes
got a
I
story
do,
for you.
yeah
You know,
yeah
yeah, and like, all things considered, as humbly, like, I mean, it wasn't Uber or Airbnb, but I just mean, like, it's a good story, like it,
yeah
you know,
hmm
um,
hmm
having both the startup experience, the enterprise experience, right, like working inside of a much larger organization and getting a lot of things right, getting a lot of things wrong, and
uh-huh
you know what I mean. So,
And
I
what have you done since then? What was like the first thing? Well, first of all, did you take a break in 2020? Did you just like, oh, I gotta get my bearings, or did you just like, hey, now I can finally do this other thing I've been
I
interested
started a
in?
company 30 minutes later.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Now is this how long had you been thinking about starting this other company?
Not that long.
Uh-huh.
Not that long, but I had a feeling in a space and started, yeah, went after it.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it was obviously, like, I don't want to gloss over the pain and heartache of, having something you deeply care about feel like it got ripped out from underneath you. I mean, that was the feeling, right? But it
Of
was
course.
also like, I have experience now, and hey, like, right, like, just go do it again.
Right. Well, and as you pointed out, that's kind of what happens, right? It's the young, energetic idealist. The founder comes in and has the great idea, and then eventually it gets to the point where it's big enough where someone decides, the people with the money decide, hey, we need a professional CEO to run this, and founder goes out on his or her ear. I mean, you see that cycle repeat over and over again. Very
Yeah,
few
I,
founders
I
turn
did,
into
I didn't.
Jeff Bezos or yeah, Elon Musk or whatever, where it's like lifetime they're running the company. Very few.
I think very few is even the wrong word, right? It's like, we can all name the people, and we run, you have more fingers and toes than you
Yeah,
can
we can
name the
name like
people.
four or five of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
exactly.
Yeah,
So it's like, very
yeah,
few is not even the right, like, I don't know a better way to say it, right? It's basically,
yeah,
it's closer to zero than any other number.
yeah, yeah,
It just
yeah.
doesn't happen. I think the other thing is, there is some, like, there is like the, I think depending on the industry size, right? When the founder ejects, whether that's on their own
Yeah,
accord or with some, being graduated on from somebody else's help,
right.
there's, depending on the size of the company, right? Like, that alone can have a pretty big impact on the business. If you're WeWork or you're Uber and you're Travis and
Yeah,
Adam,
yeah,
right? Like, the
yeah.
businesses are so big that, typically bringing in the suits and ties can probably figure it out, right? But
Uh-huh.
it's also very, just like getting fired is very well known, right? Again,
Yeah.
probably all the articles I didn't read prior to becoming an entrepreneur, right?
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
there's a big impact when your business is not huge, and
Mm.
the vision and the the driving force of the companies behind it. And it's also very well known that, the suits and ties come in and the company ends up just, failing.
Right. They lose that secret sauce that they had,
Yeah.
that why, to use Simon Sinek's term, right? The people, not only with the customers, but with the people who are
Right.
working there. They just don't have the, like, it's just a number crunching exercise now, or, something of that sort. You lose that edge. You lose that desire.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so again, like this is all the stuff that I didn't know that I was 19 or 25 or
Right.
frankly, probably 30, right? It's all the stuff that
Yeah.
I've subsequently kind of learned. So super,
You know,
super common to start a business, raise capital, get fired. Also super common if the business isn't huge that, people oust you, they bring in the suits and ties, and then the business ends up failing. And of
right.
course,
Right.
uh, to be very clear, the first business I founded is still alive. It has not failed. But I'm just
Uh-huh.
saying that, like, it's just common. It's like really common, you know?
Right. Right. What is what is advice that how old are you now, Brian?
43.
Okay, 43-year-old Brian gives 19 or 23-year-old Brian, what's advice that you think that age Brian could have actually heard at the time that would have been helpful?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I have kids in that range. I have a 17-year-old, I have a 29-year-old. And there's perspective that you can offer that for whatever reason, they just don't seem able to receive.
Well, there's a saying, right? Um, Smart people learn from their mistakes, and geniuses learn from those of others.
Yeah.
I'm not a
Yeah.
genius, right? So, like,
Yeah. Sometimes
fun
you just
fact,
need to make the
I,
mistake yourself, right?
I
Yeah.
don't think I needed to clarify that, right? But the point being is like I mean, I have 4 kids, right? So, like, I can sit here and bestow all this wisdom on my kids, but like there is a reality that like they're gonna have to forge their own path, and you know
Hmm.
friction is the best teacher.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
better
And so
teacher than friction.
and so I believe you've done some investing. I know you do some advising. You've founded a couple other things. Like how do you use your experience to help others at this stage in your development?
Yeah, I think when it comes to investing and advising, I think that everybody's looking for the book that they can read to tell them how to do the thing that they're doing. And they fail to
Yeah.
understand that the very thing that they're trying to do has never been done before. Therefore, how can there have been a book written about it?
Right.
The
Right.
dichotomy. Once I get to 100,000 in revenue, then I can raise capital. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
really? Like, there's actually a metric? Really? Like, there's
Uh-huh. Yeah.
like I've done this a few times. Like, I didn't realize there's actually metrics, right? And
Yeah.
so I think the big thing is just breaking down all these things, right?
Uh-huh.
Investors will invest an insane amount of money and break all of their investment thesis for the right person and the right idea.
Mm.
End of story. There's nothing else to say. You can say, my thesis is deep healthcare technology, and someone could come to you and pitch you Uber, in whatever,
Uh-huh.
1995, and you probably would have been
Yeah.
like, here's $1 million, right? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Travis's, his aura, his attitude, right? And the
Well, just the
idea, right?
confluence of everything that came together
Yeah,
in that idea, right? The a
right.
mobile phone with enough bandwidth to do the kind of things that they're talking about. It's like,
You told. That's
yeah.
what I mean, though. That's what I mean. Like everybody breaks
Hmm.
all their thesis.
Yeah.
Our average check is 50 grand, and they're writing $5 million checks, right? It's like at the end of the day, I think people don't appreciate that. That's actually kind of how it works. There's a reason why when you look at, you know, I mean, the world's probably top, I don't know, 50 largest consumer brands, they're all the same investors.
Mm.
It's like, so they all had the
Yeah.
exact same thesis? Really? Like,
Yeah.
probably not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
it's just a good idea. Everybody will break all the rules for a good person and a good idea. And so I try to remind people like, that's the thing. Whenever you try to fit yourself into this box and, oh, look how many customers and my revenue, therefore that means I'm going to, it's like, no, like I often try to tell people that you're often better raising capital just off an idea because then there's no expectation of revenue or customers or anything. Once you have revenue and customers, it's just never going to be enough.
Wow. I want to sit with that. So if you think about like what lights you up, it sounds to me like it's like, how do I position the idea as the right idea, not how do I execute on that idea?
Yeah, I mean, for right or wrong, I mean, I did that, right? I did that
Yeah.
in my 20s, my early mid
Right.
20s,
Because there are
right?
a lot of people
So
who are execution people and really get jazzed up about it. I am not one of those people. I am more I get excited about the idea. But execution obviously critically important. I'm just like I'm
not glossing over the execution has to be there, right? Like it doesn't matter, right?
yeah.
There's there are some ideas that are so good that if the
Uh-huh.
execution is lackluster, they'll still work. There are examples
Uh-huh.
of that in the real world. But most
Uh-huh.
of the time, like that, if your plan is, I've just identified such a unique business plan that my execution could be lackluster, like I'm not going to place that bet, right?
What
So,
is one
so
like
I,
what kind yeah, well go ahead and finish and then we'll come back.
um, Yeah, so I just think that execution is the constant, right? So
Yeah.
I kind of take that off the table. Like you have to execute or nothing's going to get done, right?
Right.
Even in the
So
ideas that are so brilliant that the execution be lackluster, it's still execution. It's just not great, right?
what
Right?
is an idea that comes to mind that you think this was so good that the execution could be lackluster?
I need to think about that. I've thought of these in the
I
past,
mean,
but
is Uber
yeah.
one? I mean, they've had a lot of bumps along there. I think about, I don't think about it being lackluster. I think about things that, had bumps along the way. And I think of like a Uber or an
I
Airbnb
don't
and you've got
I don't
but I don't know if that fits your definition.
I don't think Uber's the case. I think going up against the gold medallion was like, I mean, you're like fighting with the cartel, like the mafia. And I think that like the
Right.
execution had to be like you had to be a sniper. Like you had to be a Navy
Uh-huh.
SEAL to navigate that. And you had to be able to take a lot of arrows in the back, right? To get that done. So I think actually Uber give Travis a lot of credit for like the early days in the execution, right? I mean, there were so many other businesses that needed that to fail,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and they had,
Ironically, I was in New York City literally 2 weeks ago,
uh-huh.
Times Square, and I actually took a cab for the first time probably since I started using Uber, which has been a long time,
Uh-huh.
like a decade plus. Only because the cab just happened to be right outside the hotel, so I just was like, "Hey, cab!" Jumped in the cab. Right? It
What was your cab experience like?
was fine.
Do,
You know,
do you think the
it was
cab
fine.
experience has improved from the competition from Uber? Or do you think a cab is the same as the cabs I was taking in Chicago in the mid 90s when I was practicing law? And it was just kind of like smelly and a complete random thing and, clear vinyl on the seats and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's still that. It's still that. It was
Yeah.
it was still that, right? Um, the payments piece instead of like the carbon copy, like credit card thing, right? Or like,
Right.
trying to do the Square thing or whatever, the mobile payments. This is, going back years ago. It's a lot more streamlined now.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I'd also say like, unless you're like taking Uber Black XL, right? I mean, you can get in cars that you're like,
Yeah. Uber can be a
you
pretty
get,
crummy experience too sometimes. Yeah.
yeah, and I'll admit that I waver sporadically between both. Sometimes I'm like, I want an Uber Black XL to myself, I want the
Yeah.
Cadillac
Yeah.
Escalade to pick me up, and other times I'm like, give me the cheapest ride. Like it just depends. It kind of
Yeah.
depends on the mood, right?
So I want
I
to,
guess
as we
I
move
guess in,
into,
in I was just gonna say in that
go ahead.
regard, I mean, Uber does give you the choice with the cabs. you kind of know what you're getting. Like it, I will say it is a
Right.
consistent product.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you were talking about kind of life being built by mediocre people. I mean,
Right.
cab is a good example of like a good enough solution, right?
Yep.
Um,
Exactly.
so I want to go back to the very beginning and when I introduced you and you've been kind of public about this, like picturing, kind of you have this self concept of like striving entrepreneur and kind of monk who is kind of you know stepping back from it all. Like where are you in that balance right now, and where, like if you think about the 5 year from now or 10 year from now version of Bryan Lord, what does that identity look like?
I mean, I'm becoming more of a minimalist. I mean, I'm not as
Uh-huh.
far as I'd like to be in it. I'd say like the big lesson is appreciate potentially the pursuit of something, but the
Mm-hmm.
acquisition of it itself ends up being miserable.
Uh-huh. And when you say the acquisition of something, do you mean getting the title, getting the money, all of the above? Like what is it
I'm an I'm an
about the
entrepreneur.
destination?
I'm
Yeah.
an entrepreneur, so I don't care about titles, right? I like to tell everybody I get the
Yeah.
title the easy way. I just start a company, right? Like I'm not the
Right.
CEO
I'm the
because I've
founder.
earned it.
Yeah.
I'm the CEO because I have
Yeah.
the authority to give myself the title. It's the you want to
Yeah.
be a CEO. To everybody who wants to be a CEO, just start your own company. De facto, you're the CEO or president, like
Yeah.
done, or
Yeah.
CTO or some C-suite position. It's the easiest way to get the title. Now, holding on to the
Yeah. Yeah.
title and actually having that eventually pay you, well, that's very, very
Mm.
challenging. But needless to say, if you care
Right.
about the title, I don't care about the title. I've never really cared. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But I would
What
say the
about the
pursuit,
idea
right? I
of
mean,
like, yeah, the
most people
capital
wake up
E
and they
exit. Sorry,
go ahead.
we seem to be a little out of line. The capital E exit. Like I gave a talk to a group of people who had all had exits, and they talked about um, a valley of despair that happened after them,
Mm-hmm.
kind of identity crisis, the who am I now? Like when they were in the midst of it, building the company, struggling, not knowing if they were going to make payroll, all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like they knew who they were, even though they were struggling. And now, however millions of dollars later, and they've got, the
Mm-hmm.
company is basically gone, their role is gone, and they don't know who they are anymore. Is that what you're talking about when you say, yeah, the destination is what messes you up?
The perception that there is a destination, I think, is what messes you up, right?
Yeah,
It's like life,
yeah.
life. At in a future moment in time, everything will be different, and it just
Hmm.
things are different, but they're not different in the manner to which you believe they're going to be different, right? Life will be
Right.
easier once I sell my company and XYZ ABC, right? I
Yeah.
like I think Larry David said this, who I appreciate. I think he's a clever human being, the creator of
Yeah.
Seinfeld.
Yeah.
He says that like, you think that, making a bunch of money like makes all your problems go away. And he's like, the problem is the part of your brain that worries about money is the part of your brain that has a fixed amount of capacity and it's always filled. So the risk is just what's in it. There's no
Uh-huh.
version where there's nothing not in it.
Right. 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 I'm
So it's
looking
just
for something to be afraid
it's
of. Right.
pure. It's just displacement. You can take you can take 100 of your current problems that take up that space in the part that you're worried
Hmm.
about, and make them all
Yeah.
go away, and instantly you'll have 100 other things that backfill it.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
now, I mean, I do think that there are, I do think I think we see people who make so much money that the things that they have time and bandwidth to think about self actualization, the whole Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like there are some like
Right.
luxury things, well, the people that don't have that perceive those to be luxury things to think about, but I actually think those are probably the most miserable, if I'm being honest. I think worrying about rent and, car payment and, the pending, fixing of the flat tire compared to like, who am I in this whole world? Like when you really start to
Uh-huh.
face those questions, that's a different mind bender, I think, It's like it's kind of
Wow.
careful what you wish for. Like I think you find a lot of people who, you know, money's never going to be a problem again. They've accomplished the things they want to have accomplished, and now they just have no. They just live. Like that sounds
Uh,
miserable, and all they can think about are all these like, things that the layman would consider more ethereal. Like, oh, I wish I had those problems. It's like I don't know that I'm smart enough, but I want to believe I'm smart enough to be like, I'll take some of these everyday problems over some of those problems.
Interesting. Where I can't remember who said this, but there's some famous quote about like the most the most rare capacity in any human being is the capacity to be alone in a room with your own thoughts.
That's a dangerous place.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
depends, right? It depends on what the thoughts are, and it depends on where
right.
they go. And I mean, I've seen so many people struggle for the next challenge, whatever the next challenge is, and the game that they play, because it's the game we all play. It's the game that we've been taught to play. Is that my sense of value and self worth is tied up in whether I succeed in this thing, as opposed to can I actually just go after something because I think it'd be kind of fun to do and be okay with myself whether I succeed or not. And I've had a lot of people tell me I'll lose my mojo. Like I can't succeed unless I make myself miserable along the way.
Hmm. Okay. I also think it's, dare I say, the traditional American education system that creates this problem, right? I mean, you more or less
Definitely.
have to go into debt under the perception
Yeah.
that college is still a valuable thing to go do. And
Hmm.
therefore, now you have a financial obligation, which means suddenly what you want to do, right, and what you should do
Right.
gets on the back burner of I have student loans that are coming due, or whatever. I have to
Right.
pay. I have to make a rent, right? Like there is a
Right.
practical aspect of like, I mean, hey, I graduated, but I'm like, I got to do something, right? I mean, I didn't know what
Right.
I wanted to do, right? You know, and I entrepreneurship for me, and I can only speak for me. It's been by far the hardest thing I could have probably ever done, um, but also the most rewarding. And I love
Right.
it.
You
Like,
enjoyed yourself more
and
than
that,
a soul sucking W-2 job, right?
well, some people love that, right? And
Yeah.
kudos to them. And I don't even want to make fun of it. It's just they who knew. Hopefully, they know who they are, and
Right.
I know who I am. And for me, that's just generally not for me. Generally speaking, I mean,
Yeah.
we say W-2. I mean, if you're successful in your company, you typically will employ yourself. But
Right. But yeah, but we're talking about the kind of the box in the org chart kind of
right,
role
right,
where, as long as you don't stray outside these boundaries, that is your job and it's defined. And
right.
an entrepreneurial job is never that, right? An entrepreneurial
And
job is
to me, that's
whatever
what
the
makes it
day
fun, right?
demands. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like the idea that my job would become so repetitive that every day I wake up and do the same thing. It's like I know this now. I either need to fire myself or need to graduate myself or something needs to change, right?
Right.
Like I
Right.
don't want
Or I need to
those like,
find someone who actually likes this
yeah,
job, and it's not me.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I
I
like,
managed a guy early in my corporate career. I managed a guy who all he did every day was draft pension plans. I did I wanted to be able to do his job, so I did a couple pension plans, and like within a month, I was just like bored silly. And he did this for 30 years, and he loved it. And I honestly believe that he loved it, and that really opened my eyes. It's like, oh, there are whatever you think of like as your biggest drudgery, there is someone who loves that, and you should find that person and hire them.
your trash is somebody else's treasure, right? So, you know.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
I want to go back to the point of the destination real quick. Like I think I've really wrapped my head around, and I have for some time now. I mean, probably for 10 plus years, probably longer. I don't know that I agree with the word retirement because I think the
right,
general definition of retirement, again, what's the definition of anything, but in the Western hemisphere is, I'm more or less working towards a specific number to then stop working to then go do something that I enjoy. And that's
Right.
loosely how it's kind of understood. I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to say that's the exact definition, but that's how it's mostly understood, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly
Mm-hmm.
understood that you have to work and hopefully you enjoy it, but there's an end to it. So then you can do whatever the next thing is. And for
Yeah.
me, I've always kind of had this attitude of like, I don't ever want to retire. If I want to retire, that means I need to change what I'm doing currently because that means I don't enjoy what I'm doing. And so I just enjoy
Right.
what I'm doing, which is more
Right.
the, enjoy the journey. It's not the acquisition of the stuff, the house, the cars, whatever, right? I think particularly when I was young, the idea of having that stuff sounds interesting, and then you get some of it and it just makes you miserable. So it's like enjoy the pursuit, but I don't know that I need to pull the trigger on the end result. It's more just enjoy the process, which is just, I mean, you could have taped that to my mirror at 25 years old, and I would have read it every day and been like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I had
Exactly.
to live through it.
Yeah.
I had to live through it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm almost 20 years older than you, and I think as I get older, first of all, I couldn't agree more with that notion of retirement. I don't see myself ever retiring. It's more like, how do I change and keep doing stuff that I enjoy doing that people are willing to pay me money for? And great. The other thing is, I've had some success along the way, and the houses and the cars and the material stuff. And I find as I get older, like I really find fulfillment in simpler and simpler things. And I let
I'm a
myself
yeah.
enjoy those things, which I wouldn't have when I was younger.
I mean, I could live on a small boat, you know,
Yeah.
as long
Yeah.
as I had a mountain bike and you know, and some skis, you know what I mean? And a laptop to
Yeah.
communicate with people and a cell phone to keep in touch with my friends. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny. It's like, what do you really need to be happy? You know?
Yeah. It's not very
Yeah.
much.
So like, it's not very much. And we're, particularly the Western culture, that's the whole monk versus capitalist, right? Which is like, there is something fun about, I do enjoy business. Like I genuinely enjoy it. It's fun to be like, I wonder if I can get the world to care about this new idea I have, which is
Hmm.
like which is a very simple sentence, but that's really what being an entrepreneur comes down to. Like that's at the end of the day. You want to start a landscape
Yeah.
company, the question is, can you convince the world that
Yeah.
you should mow their lawn, and will they pay for it? Like I mean, that's
Right.
all it is. Is that Uber, like Airbnb, Facebook? It doesn't matter what it is. It's just, can I create something where people are like, oh yeah, I want to engage with the thing that you built, and I just think that's
Right.
really fun. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yeah. But it's so, there's some level of fulfillment in achieving that and realizing, hey, I had this idea and I brought it to market, and the market rewarded me for it. And ideally, the world's a little better place, a little easier place, a little happier place, whatever word you want to
You
put on
got it.
it,
Yep.
because of this idea. Yeah.
I
Awesome.
can I can walk into I can walk into a golf course and they could be using the very system that I started, which is kind of
Yeah.
wild. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
That's wild.
not that it matters, but it's just kind of cool. It's like it's out in the wild and I'm not a part of it, and it just still exists, which is kind of neat.
So, what advice do you have for people who might be listening to this conversation or watching this conversation who have an idea? Maybe it's like, I want to become a solopreneur. Maybe it's, I need to build a company. Like, what are the words of wisdom from your perspective that you can offer, whether or not they're really able to hear it yet?
Well, I have words. I'm not sure if they're wisdom, but I do have words. I would say I would say a few things. I so I'm a mentor for the Purdue Innovates program, and I got invited to this
Hmm.
fireside chat. So I'm on stage,
Hmm.
and people are asking questions, basically like, how'd you do it, or why you, or why, kind of classic, four
Yeah.
horsemen questions of entrepreneurship. And I basically said, look, like everybody in this room is smarter than me, and I'm like, I say that not as like reverse psychology. I say that and I mean that. Like you are smart
Right.
students, like right. But I said there's two things that I have that one of which probably most of you in the room don't have, and the other one maybe a few of you do. One, I'm told that I'm pretty persuasive. And that's a
Mm,
skill set you need. I hate the word sales. It's not
yeah.
sales. You have to persuade people to give you money. You have to persuade early employees to come work for not market compensation and believe that their 3% equity is going to be worth, $30 million someday, right? I mean, it's just
Right.
you overlook the fact that it really is a persuasive. You want to be an entrepreneur, you got to be persuasive. And if not, like, there better be some other skill set that you don't have, you know,
Yeah.
or you
Yeah.
have. So that's one. And the second thing is you got to have the stomach for it. And so,
Mm,
when I walked off stage, well, I didn't really know it was going to happen. Not a big deal, but people came kind of lined up to talk to me, right? And they're like, well, how do I pay rent? How do I? I'm like, yeah, exactly. The fact that you're worried about these things tells me right
yeah.
there you don't have the stomach for it. Like, that's therein lies the problem, right? I mean, I
Right.
wasn't quite that brutal, but I'm just saying that, like out of all the entrepreneurs in the world, like 99.99% of them all had to worry about, like, how do I pay rent, and how do I have kids along the
Right.
way, and how do I afford the kids? It's like, it's the saying, like, if you wait till you can afford to have kids, you'll never have them, right?
Hmm.
Right. And I think starting a
Well, if you
company is the
wait
same
till
way.
you're ready to do anything, you will never do it.
Well, yeah, well, exactly. That's even better
Yeah.
said. Yeah. So I think like, if you have an idea, just go do it. Like, do it today, because every day that goes
Yeah.
on, like, I want to say, like, kind of hardening that happens as you grow older does actually start to
Hmm.
creep in. Your appetite changes, your risk tolerance, generally speaking, changes. It just
Yeah.
does. Whether you think it does or doesn't, it does. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot
Yeah.
different for me now. I'm 43, four kids,
Right.
right? It's just the equation's different, right? I don't regret college. I loved college, best friends, loved it, man. And I had to live through it. I had to mature and live that experience. But man, I wish I would have started a company when I was like 15. You know,
Mm, yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Awesome. Bryan, thank you for a great conversation. Love going deep with you. Um, Hopefully, everyone enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Pick Now podcast. We'll be back at you next week with another one. Thanks, everyone.